and welcome back to the Village Hall from Page to Stage. I am your host, Mr. Matt Ogden, and this man right here is Mr. Richard Sykes.
Hi.
In between us today, Richard, who have we got?
It's me. We have the incredible Patrick. Patrick Hibbin is here for us. Patrick is playing the fantastically dippy, drippy vicar.
Dippy and drippy.
Our wonderful Geoffrey. And
it takes a lot of acting.
Well, that works out quite well, Patrick, because Patrick is well known in Huddersfield as one of our established Thesps. You know, he's been with the Huddersfield Thespians for a long while. Have you not, Patrick?
Huddersfield Thespians,
yes.
And Halifax Thespians.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
He gets around.
He does get around. He's not originally from these parts, are you, Patrick?
No, I was brought up in Kent.
Lovely.
Where I did some acting at school, and then I went on to university and was in the Drama Society there. And then came to Huddersfield many years ago and didn't act for 10 years because I sent a request to Huddersfield Thespians to say I'd like to act. Yeah. And they ignored me for 10 years. They had no idea what talent they were missing.
Shocking.
So who do we have to blame for that?
Oh, I couldn't possibly mention
it. We've known each other a little time, haven't we? Mainly through Maria, I think.
Yes, because I've done some acting with Maria. I've been in bed with Maria twice on the stage.
Right. Yeah. There's a nice long pause between them.
And filming. We filmed twice, and I've been in bed with her on the second time.
Oh.
She was reading a book, and I was building a cathedral.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were
in bed.
Yeah.
In bed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Wow. What was
it's
that?
It's a must see. it was for part of our show reel.
Excellent. Yeah. Awesome. So you've been doing stage performance and also doing for screen as well, then?
Since the age of 10.
Wow.
Yes. My debut was with Dame Sybil Thorndike. You may have heard of her.
I have.
And you know, one of the things I learned from her as a professional, she forgot her lines. And I thought, well, if Dame Sybil Thorndike can do it, it won't be such a problem if I do. And she was great. She just stopped and said, I must go back. And she went back and did the speech again. And I've had the same experience with Sir Ian McKellen.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Who did it at the end of Present Laughter.
Name drop that one.
He was obviously struggling.
Yeah.
The rest of the cast were getting nervous because they knew he wasn't quite on form. And he just suddenly said, I must go and get my book. Walked off the stage for 10 minutes.
Oh.
Checked his lines, came back, did this last speech, which is a very long one.
What happened for that 10 minutes?
The audience shuffled on their bums a bit, looked aghast. How could Sir Ian McKellen do this? He came back, and then there was rapturous applause at the end that he had managed to remember his lines at long last. So there you are, you see.
But neither Sybil Thorndike or Ian McKellen have been in a musical, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Ian McKellen's been in pantomime.
Pantomime, yes, and probably
you have to
sing
sing
song.
Pantomime,
occasionally.
Yes.
Yes. So, is this a first for you, Patrick?
Singing in a musical?
Yes.
It is not.
Oh.
I have two previous claims to fame. One, as an 11-year-old, I sang in Noyes Floody by Benjamin Britten.
Right.
Which isn't easy.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say.
Challenge.
And then 30 years ago, I was Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music.
Of course you were. Yes.
And where was that then?
Brigass.
You
got your Edelweiss out.
Well, I did, but unfortunately not my guitar. Paul Bennett was playing Max, was supposed to bring it on stage for Edelweiss and forgot.
Oh, right, okay. So you just mimed it?
The guitar,
yeah.
No, I decided not to bother with
it.
I thought it might look a bit silly.
Look a bit weird.
But no, I did sing, but it was only seconds after the orchestra had struck up that I realised it was Edelweiss. Because my cue was the guitar. And because as Richard would tell you, I'm not terribly musical, but I can...
I would not tell that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because Patrick has this thing that he doesn't sing. He does.
No, I do sing. It's
he
just
does.
I don't sing well.
He's tremendous, and I love his intonation with the part. Now, the point is that Patrick is playing Geoffrey rather, what should we say, austere and slow and steady. There is another way to play the character as written, which is fast and quite dithery.
And jittery and a bit all over.
But as we've said before many times in this podcast, we cast this in pairs.
Yeah.
And so when Patrick walked in and we could pair him with Mel as his wife, who was already doing that sort of dithery energy, she was utterly superb, and Patrick just complemented that perfectly. How are you finding working with Mel? You've done a couple of rehearsals now.
Just a little, yes, because I've never actually acted with her before.
Have you not?
Although we've both been in...
I was going to say she's been in Huddersfield Thespians.
Oh, loads of
years,
stuff.
hasn't she?
Yes, loads and loads of stuff. Good fun.
Great fun.
Yes, I mean, we're going to have a hoot behind the scenes and on stage as well.
It seems that way. The only scene I've seen Patrick directed in so far takes place when he's in a toilet. He's visited.
Is Maria there?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. He's been to the store cupboard.
Right.
Can't remember why he's been to the store cupboard.
Yeah.
And then Mel says, "Well, you must go to the toilet," and so he goes to the toilet.
The lavatory.
Sorry, the lavatory.
The lavatory.
My apologies. I didn't mean to denigrate it.
They don't say toilet.
We don't say.
The vicar in Chile doesn't say.
Certainly.
Yes, quite right. He's really in character, guys.
That's right. So he's gone to the bog, and and suddenly he realises why he went to the storeroom.
Yeah.
Which is because the toilet is out of toilet paper. And so Geoffrey is then indisposed in the toilet, and he gives a plaintive cry, Mel! And of course Mel appears and has to ascertain why he needs help in the toilet, and then has to walk through carrying the toilet paper. This is all while a vital piece of the plot is being explained in the centre by the two leads, by Helen and Francis. And so it's a
comic relief.
It's a lovely counterpoint, and that's effectively what the character of Geoffrey is throughout. I would say not vital to the plot, just vital to the show.
It feels like as well, so from the brief bits that I've seen, it feels like you're almost the kind of antithesis to the chaos, in the sense that when everything is going on, and at the start of the musical, when all hell's breaking loose, they're trying to get into the village hall, Francis is trying to kind of restructure the day and get a grasp on things to really take charge of it. It seems whenever I hear your lines being delivered, especially with that kind of, let's say, regal slowness, where it's very
authority, gravitas.
Yes, it's all.
He's not authoritative.
He's got no clue what's going on whatsoever.
But
he's as chaotic as everybody else.
Bring the pace back down and allow yourself to kind of use your voice, which is a magnificent voice, by the way. And we'll get onto that, I'm sure.
Yes.
But to really kind of show, the vicar he's not someone who will get caught up in things and get too overworked and be stressed out. He's very much
totally
I've just got to deal with each thing as it comes, and someone will push me in the right direction.
Usually
I'll get
Mel.
there. Yes. Which is funny because it kind of plays against type, I think.
It does.
You'd almost expect the vicar to be the calm, controlled presence, not just vocally, but also in terms of, we'll sort this out. But actually it's Mel, the more kind of frantic ditherer, who's actually just pushing you in the right directions to get where you need to be.
Have you met many vicars? Have you met many vicars' wives?
I have actually, and you are quite right. They are the ones who are the voice of the congregation.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are organising the barbecues, the get-togethers. They steer everything, don't they?
Absolutely.
The driving force. You mentioned Patrick's voice.
I did.
You now do an awful lot of vocal acting, don't you, Patrick?
I do now, yes, because I started doing filming 2 or 3 years ago, and I started audio probably about 4 years ago. So I have recorded Doctor Who.
You told me about that.
Two series.
So
it's
cool.
not an audio book.
Yeah.
It is a tribute series. One of which has gone to the BBC for approval for its official Doctor Who website.
Wow.
Have you heard of Robert's Rebellion?
No.
The precursor to Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Martin.
So
Big
I
shout.
play Illyrio Mopatis, who's a big fat merchant, but I hasten to add it's audio.
So you don't have to put the weight on.
Does he know how big the part is? I'm sorry, carry on.
And I've just been cast and got confirmation yesterday as the Dean in Doctor in the House. You won't remember that,
I do.
And you may.
I do, yes.
Yes. Anyway, I play the Dean.
God, if I had that voice.
I know. It's luxurious. It's kind of like a toffee caramel voice, isn't it?
What you won't understand is, I was brought up in Kent.
Yeah.
And so, my family used to speak sort of estuary English.
Yeah.
Or half Cockney,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
quite EastEnders, although some of them were EastEnders who came to Kent hot picking in the summer as a holiday. But I realised when I went to the grammar school that unless you spoke proper, you didn't get on.
No.
Right.
So I didn't have elocution lessons, I just sort of mimicked
Yes.
Yeah.
people.
Easier when you've got influences like the TV and the radio, I suppose, to work from. Is that what you?
No, we didn't. We had a very poor upbringing.
Oh.
We had a radio,
Yeah.
but no TV.
Wow.
But my mother was Irish, but had more of an RP accent.
Okay.
So maybe I copied it a bit. And we used to go to church, so there are a lot of middle class folk in church
Yeah, yeah.
who spoke properly. So
We've talked about accents quite a bit before, haven't we? Because obviously my accent isn't a typical Isle of Man accent, but it's not too northern, it's not too southern, it's very kind of in the middle. And I think that's because of my teachers at school, the way my grandma spoke, it's kind of a combination of inspirations and factors that kind of merge together to form how you sound. So even though you came from that background, and like you said, having an Irish mother who spoke more RP, have you found that your accent has changed over time, and that's kind of something that you're going to use in the village hall, or is it very much a case of you're taking that inspiration from what your experience was as a child in those church communities and just go, that's kind of how the vicar was for me when I was a kid?
no, because the vicar was very, very different. The vicar turned out in the end to be my father-in-law. Whoa, you didn't see
Spoiler
that coming,
alert.
did you? So now, I don't know whether my accent has changed. You'd have to ask other people about that. But I think when you meet people, it's almost like building rapport. You become a bit of a mimic, maybe. I remember being in Rochester with my very, very first girlfriend, who I met again just recently after 50 years. Very good. And we were showing some people around, and then this French couple came and asked the way to the castle. So I gave them the directions because I knew I was from the Medway towns, and I knew Rochester very well. I explained, and Elaine, my girlfriend, she went pale and looked aghast and said, "Do you realise what you have just done?" I said, No, what have I just done? So apparently I said, well, if you go to the end of the street and you turn left, and I was repeating what I'd heard back.
Yes.
Completely oblivious to the fact that I was doing it.
You doing a French accent and you didn't realise?
No.
Wow, brilliant.
So I think to answer your question properly, I think when I saw the script and got a feel for Richard's writing, the character sort of grew a little bit and developed. And then so that's what I did for the audition.
Yes.
And I made them laugh. So I thought, well, this is on the right tracks. But then you meet the cast, and again, you may not consciously think, but you sort of review how it works and who you're opposite.
In the context of everyone else.
Yeah.
Mel's approach to the character has changed since Patrick's casting. She's now gone a little more RP, and it is.
Yeah, because she's very Yorkshire.
She's playing very Yorkshire usually,
yeah.
but this absolutely filters into what Patrick's saying about accent. And when I studied English language, we called it mutual convergence. is what happens when people have been chatting together for a long time. You kind of adopt their accent. So Mel has I'm not saying she hasn't done it deliberately. I'm saying that because of Patrick's dominant voice, she's chosen to change her accent because of that.
And yeah, it's interesting that, because I think with the rest of the cast, you know, like we were saying last week on the episode that we filmed in Marsden Parochial Hall, which had a strong focus on vicars and
accents
and churches and accents, and it was interesting because afterwards we chatted to Becky as well and her approach to the character, and we mentioned the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to be in Yorkshire, and that it's unlike By George, it's more open to being placed. Cheeley can be plonked wherever it is, Rochester, Yorkshire, Scotland if it wants to. There's Scottish Highland dancers and singers in the show, so there's going to be a variety of accents throughout the whole performance anyway. And it's almost like it doesn't really matter what people choose. It's what they think feels comfortable for their performance, right?
Yeah. And I think it blends really well, doesn't it? With the rehearsals that we've had so far. I mean, it's quite difficult, I think, for Neil and others because there's sort of lots of holiday gaps, aren't there?
Yes.
People away. But it's such a professional crew. People just come back in, fit in, catch up. Very impressed with Woodhouse. Their favourite.
People do their homework. You know, what we did over the weekend was we filmed a line dancing routine called "Text Me Sexy Dynamite." Of course we did, and it was filmed, and people who weren't there will learn it from the film, which makes things very easy, especially as you say when people are conscientious about not wanting to be left behind and catching up with the rehearsals. This is a summer show, so I mean we are rehearsing it throughout the summer, which means of course people have got holidays booked and they'll want to go away, and so that's all to be factored in. I agree with Patrick that it isn't easy on Neil or our choreographer or Kira, our musical director, but them's the breaks. If you want to do 2 shows a year, you have to do it in this gap. Have you noticed how they're working the 4 walls angle?
Yes.
The choreography looks a little Busby Berkeley. It really is incredible.
Yeah, I'd like to see it from an aerial view, actually.
Yes. Yeah. And people buying the top seats can see all of it. So the seats that are usually sort of derided
not
as
the best seats,
tier 2 up there.
It's a spectacle.
It really is.
It's a spectacle.
And
that's the great thing about being in the round as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's involved in that sense.
Which leads me into the next question I want to ask is what's your experience with theatre in the round or theatre in general?
Yes, I've done a lot of variety of staging. I think I've done 2 in the round. 3 outdoors, which is definitely in the round and uncontrollable. It's good fun. The thing that will concern me a little until we get more into rehearsal, but I do know the Laurence Batley really well. Yeah. But having to make an entrance from the rear, if you'll excuse the expression, it's sort of listening out and getting the timing right, which you can't easily do in initial rehearsal, because although the space is marked out for the stage, the performance area, it isn't for the auditorium. So all of that's got to be an adjustment later on. But then that's all in the game. That's sort of the experience I've had within the round. You just bring it and use it.
I think you have to be more focused, really, as well, don't you? When you do proscenium march, or even if it's a thrust, you kind of, when you're going off stage, you've got that ability to hide in the wings and sort of look in and see what's going on and kind of get a feel for, okay, where are they up to? How can I kind of slot in nicely to do my scene? But when it's in the round, it is very much a case of there aren't really places you can hide. You can't switch off at any point. No, not that you would switch off, but do you know what I mean? You can't go into
tempting. I mean, I'm very critical when I go to theatrical productions, even when there are wings and people are not acting into the wings. Yeah, so that's really important. If you're in the middle of an auditorium, you are that character until you get off. And maybe even then.
Absolutely.
I have my tea and my bourbon biscuit waiting in the wing so I can keep in character.
We'll go into bourbons at a different
There's a
time.
dedicated episode just
this
for bourbons.
Oh dear Lord.
And it's not your character.
How do you eat your bourbons?
Well, apparently dropped in a pot of coffee.
Yes, you do. Yes. No, it's going to be a tremendous spectacle of a show, which I wasn't expecting when I wrote it, because it feels, as a subject matter, it's quite parochial. It feels very, very insular, and yet the director and Neil is brilliant at this, and choreographer Lauren have this kind of expansive view that turns it more into a show than I thought it would be. But that's not to say it's wrong. What I'm saying is it's supreme. It means that you can draw on different facets and everyone can get something out of the show, rather than just the nerdy playgoer in me that wants to sit and watch someone go through the machinations of being at a village hall.
It's the characters, isn't it, that you meet in places like the village hall, because they're the same everywhere. And you will meet them again in this village hall. You will recognise them. You might even recognise yourself.
Or a future or past version of yourself.
Patrick,
Splendid.
what do you think to Woolley Village Hall, Patrick?
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Arriving here, beautiful setting on the village green.
Yeah.
Beautifully looked after, great asset for the village. So much variety going on. I noticed there is not a village pub, but there is a village bar in Woolley Hall.
Very much so.
Beautifully maintained. I think a lot of hard work must go into it. Getting the bookings going, keeping it well decorated. But super place. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a good tour and a good chat here. Andrew let us in.
Yep.
He had to let us in because Tom, who we're going to talk to in a little while, couldn't get in. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
That must have been just before I arrived.
Just before you arrived.
The key didn't work.
His key didn't work.
Guys,
I mean,
like it was made.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
There's a kitchen through there. It's got the tea urn. Admittedly, this is far more spruce and palatial than I would imagine Cheeley Village Hall was.
Yeah, we were saying before we started filming, weren't we, that if Cheeley Village Hall was more like the village halls that we've been to so far, this is the one that we don't get to see that Ken brags about being from.
It is well kept and clearly well run. It's also well cleaned. When we're looking at things, I mean, I get obsessed by the minutiae of these things.
The minutiae, he's getting so douchly with all the things he's saying.
I'm sorry. I mean,
he's just trying to show
3 or
off
4
because you're here.
syllables?
Ask him what it means.
I'm always like that. It means little things, Patrick. You wouldn't understand. So
It's only big things.
when we got here, I was immediately obsessed by how they store tables and chairs.
Yeah.
And this table folds neatly. It goes right. They are able to slide in little trolleys underneath the stage. It's so well thought out.
Everything has its place.
Everything has its place
to make it accessible and storable in the nicest way possible.
They don't have stacking chairs.
Nope.
They have couches where Andrew is sat at the moment. There he is, looking wonderful. There's also a football pitch just up there, but for me, I would immediately change that to a hockey pitch.
Right, okay.
So we've got the hockey team who would come in. So I start to map everything onto a place like this. And again, it would be performed, Village Hall would be performed wonderfully in a place like this. You just put people on the sides and you play on the wooden centre. You can just see it happening. And of course they'd look this way for the panto. Absolutely perfect.
Did you come here or to a village hall anywhere?
Oh, of course. I've grown up with village halls like this. I've been here before once. But that was only to step in, and I've been to a lot of the village halls to perform as a singer. So yes, that's my inspiration for them. But whenever you're introduced as a singer, you are usually introduced by the person who does everything. The Francis, the person who will take the mic and say and introduce you. This is a vital cog.
Yeah.
And like Andrew here, and like a lady who apparently comes to run things here, there is this incredible connective tissue between all the village halls. We'll explain a bit more about how this village hall was formed. Again, there's history here, just like there was at Marsden last week. Marsden is celebrating its 100th year anniversary next year. This one, not quite so much, just started in 74, but there's so much history to the building. Yeah. But Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Splendid.
Even when he says my pleasure, it just sounds, it's like, ooh, sends shivers down the spine at how beautiful it is. Yeah. No, honestly, it's been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing your performance.
Thank you. Been good fun.
So Tom, tell us about the history of Woolley Village Hall and your relationship with the community here.
Right, well, I'm not the person to tell you about the history. Andrew might have more about the history. My relationship with it, we moved into the village, my wife and I, Kathy and I, moved into the village about 8 years ago. Didn't know anybody, but I was determined to get into the feeling of the community.
Yeah.
And we came along, I think, first of all to a bar night, which is the last Friday in the month, every month.
Every month?
Every month.
Right.
And he came along, and it was just wonderful. People were very kind to us and inclusive and drew us into the community.
Yeah.
And then a couple of us thought it would be nice to have a walking group. So the Woolley Village walking group, and we meet every Wednesday morning. We go to the sculpture park.
Lovely.
Oh, nice.
That's at Bretton.
At Bretton.
For those who are.
Yep. And we meet at 10 and have a walk, quite an extensive walk for an hour, and then come back at about 11 for brunch in the restaurant there, and it's rather nice. And so there's a group of about a dozen of us who meet up like that. And then I had a problem with my back, and the guy said the best thing to prevent this happening in the future will be to have some Pilates. It's best for strengthening your core. So I looked around for a Pilates teacher. We found one, and then every Thursday morning we have a Pilates session.
Brilliant.
We have an hour, and there's again about 12 of us.
And that takes place here, Tom?
In here, on the floor, in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people bring mats?
Everybody brings their mat.
Yes.
And the lady brings those blocks that we have. And
yes.
She brings some sort of device, you'll understand this, whereby we can do meditation and little music and things that come, so that's rather nice. And we have an hour of that every week, and I think that has helped my suppleness. That's what I'm striving for. But equally, as a young lad, I played a lot of table tennis.
Yes.
And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to resurrect that feeling, because we have a wonderful time. And
that's the point. It's about social community.
It's about social community. And the funny thing with it is doubles, when we play doubles, because that's very different to playing singles. So we get lots of hysterics and sort of people rolling about, finding it very amusing. So we play table tennis every week, and that's been a source of great joy for me.
Well, I think we told you a little bit about the musical itself and how it works.
Yeah.
But what we're interested in is mapping what you've got here onto our village hall, and seeing what sort of factors dictate what you do.
Yes.
So you have, I believe, 3 sets of keys.
Yes, 3 sets of keys.
And I found out today this is for insurance purposes.
Oh, right, okay.
Because you have to have the least number of keys possible to make the insurance work.
That's right.
Right, okay.
So, in our musical, it hinges on someone having misplaced a set of keys, and when you tried to get in today, your key didn't work.
No, it wouldn't turn.
No, exactly. So this maps on beautifully to our musical.
Just married up perfectly.
Right.
The other thing is you've got a fire exit over there,
yes.
You've got a store cupboard here, and you've got a kitchen there. Now, Cheeley Village Hall, which is where ours is set, doesn't have a bar, but you have every other component part, and aside from that, it's this magnificent place.
It really is, isn't it?
This used to be a girls' school.
A mixed school. No,
mixed
school, mixed ages. It was all age, I think, from about 5 to 14, boys and girls, because in its time, it would serve the community, which would be predominantly agricultural labourers and miners. And
you were a miner.
I was a miner. And the people in the village used it, but of course, in terms of economies of scale, by the time, as we slowly got to the 1970s, a small school like this wasn't economic anymore.
No.
And so the local authority decided to close the school and send the children wherever, which was difficult in that children in the past had stayed in the community. And so the village felt that they would be very sad to lose this facility. I think the local authority would like to get the money for it and then build houses or whatever. The village came up trumps and managed to collect, I think, that, I don't know, Andrew would know. Is it about 30,000, Andrew?
Oh, Andrew, you've been brought in here. 30,000, was it?
30,000, yeah.
Wow.
And,
I mean, this was in 1975.
I think so. Is that right, Andrew?
Can I come forward?
Of course you may. Please approach, Andrew. Very good to see you.
Yes.
This is Andrew, by the way, people. There we go.
All sorts of meetings in here, the Woolley Village Residents Association, the Parish Council, the bar, all these things. It's been useful, so really, really useful. Really
But
useful.
people have worked very hard to maintain this. It doesn't just happen.
No.
And people have got to give up their time in order to make it work properly.
This is my my huge inspiration for the village hall.
Right.
Is the fact that these people, like yourselves, are the ones that bear the history of the village hall, and also make it run.
Yes.
Keep it clean. I mean, this place is beautiful. It's so spotless.
Well, that's it. That's another factor. You have to get people to make sure that when they leave it, it's fairly clean,
right.
it's tidy. And that people have to come and clean up after and hoover up and all those things and make sure the toilets are working.
It's a real coming together of the community.
Yes, yeah, it is. And people in the village do value it.
Yeah.
Sure. So, folks, we are coming to the end of our podcast here. We've got Tom here, and we've had Andrew with us, and we now have some of the residents of Woolley, and they're coming to play table tennis. So
It's set up in the background.
absolutely, this is exactly how village halls should work. So a big thanks to Tom for allowing us to come and film here, and to you, Matt. Thank you for coming all this way.
Yeah.
Thank you to Patrick for joining us too.
Yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much,
It's lovely to be
Tom.
part of it.
Excellent.
Well, if you do want to join us for the rest of this series, we're running all the way up to the show date, which is September the 10th to the 13th, and that's taking place at the... Yes, indeed.
Right
That's
there.
taking place at the Lawrence Batley Theatre in Huddersfield. You can come and join us for our In the Round chaotic musical, The Village Hall. You can follow us on the socials, can't they, Matt?
They can indeed. You can follow us on Instagram at The Village Hall Musical. And if you want to watch or listen to all of the rest of the podcast episodes, you can find them wherever you find your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, yada, yada, yada. And there's also the YouTube so that you can watch this video and you can see Woolley Village Hall and other village halls and their committee members in person. And they can do that on your YouTube channel, can't they, Mr. Richard Sykes?
Indeed, and if you're inspired and you want to come and watch the show, then you can come and buy tickets at the Lawrence Batley Theatre. That's thelbt.org, and we have a handy little QR code
Right in front of Tom.
just in front of Tom there. But from me and from Matt, we'd love to thank you once again.
Excellent.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.